Hey guys, what's going on? This is going to be my Enhancement Shaman Stormbringer guide for PvE for the War Within Season 3. Basically, what I'm going to do is go over talents, gear, and a bit of rotation, as well as like burst windows and stuff like that. And also, if you are wondering, I will have a separate one for Totemic, as some people do prefer Totemic over Stormbringer. So let's get into this. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is gearing. So for gearing, you want to get haste and mastery, preferably haste as priority. If you don't really care that much about optimizing perfectly, then just focus fully on haste mastery. Any piece of gear with it is good. If you're really interested in getting those big damage parses and stuff like that, I definitely recommend using raid bots to sim your character a lot to figure out which stat you want more of and stuff like that. And you can use simulation craft add-on to get like a little code here. You can plug that right into raid bots and it'll bring up everything in your bags and stuff that you can sim. Also, Wowhead does have a nice best in slot um, list that you can go off of as well, so feel free to check that out. It is very good. But if you're just getting random pieces, you're not really getting perfect pieces, then I definitely just keep simming away. But general consensus is haste and then mastery. That's about it. So if you get haste and mastery, that's good. So for tier pieces, I go with helmet, shoulders, gloves, and legs. Reason being is there's a better chest plate from the raid that you get from Forge Weaver. It's low haste, heavy mastery, and it's better than any other headpiece you can get. So that's why you opt into getting the chest plate instead. As for embellishments, I go with wrists with the Writhing Armor Banding, and then I go with a Charged Face Smasher with Ascendance on it. I've been using this since Season 1, so I really haven't bothered changing it. You could go with some Dawn Threading. I believe it's the Versatility one or the Crit one. You can go with either one of those if you want, but you don't really have those two extra open slots. So, it is what it is, but Ascendance works perfectly fine. As for your belt, you usually want to go with Spark Burst or Electric Current, depending on what you have. Considering the fact that I have a buttload of mastery or haste right now, I usually have mine set to mastery, so that way I can get a little bit of more damage out of it. But again, it comes down to simming and stuff like that, so check that out if you're really interested. But either one of those is usually pretty good. As for trinkets, right now I am using the Unyielding Nether Prism and the Astral Antenna. The reason why I'm using these two is because I prefer to play the Casino build, which is great with the Unyielding Nether Prism, but your other options are going to be from the raid specifically. If you want to run regular Ascendance, I would definitely try and get your hands on the Araz Ritual Forge. This thing is a crazy 2-minute cooldown, so it lines up perfectly with your regular Ascendance. So you get like a massive, massive benefit from it. And then other ones you would want to get would be the Pacemaker from Floodgate, or the Priory of the Sacred Flame, the Signet of the Priory. That's a really good on use as well. Um, Other than that, you could get a Sack Brood. It's not as good as it used to be, or even a Empowering Crystal of a new Jikak. I don't even know how to say that. So they're not bad trinkets. So if you can get your hands on them, they're pretty good until you get like another prism, an astral antenna, or the forge trinket here. So those are your best bets to get. Um, Other than that, weapon enchants, I run a Stonebound Artistry, just to get a little bit of benefit from Mastery, and then I run a Radiant Power. If you want to run double Radiant Power, go for it, do it. I honestly don't think they make that big of a difference for your weapon enchants. I think they're both pretty similar, so feel free to choose whichever ones you want, really. And then for your cloak, I shove haste in there just because haste is what I want. You could put mastery if you're very, very heavy on haste, then put some mastery in there, and then you can bump up your damage just a little bit. But so far, everything I've been simming is telling me to shove more and more haste down my character. So it's like, okay. So that's what my Sims say. That's what I'm gonna follow. So it is what it is. But anyways, let's get into the talent trees. Okay, so now that we're into the talent trees, there are two different versions you can play. One is Casino Build, which is my favorite, which is using deeply rooted elements. Or you can play regular Enhance, where you're using regular Ascendants and you have a bit more control over your damage. So basically, you can switch out any three of these swap talents here, the multi talents. So you can play with Tempest Strikes if you really don't want to play with Elemental Blast. You can play with Deeply Rooted Elements if you don't want to play with Ascendants. And if you don't want to play with Feral Spirits, you can play with Flowing Spirits, which removes that cooldown. So any combination of those is very similar to each other. Obviously, there is always going to be that mid-maxed version, but again, it comes down to personal preference and the way you like to play. So, I personally prefer playing Casino with Elemental Blast. I've been having the most success with that. So, that's what I like to do, which is Deeply Rooted Elements with Flowing Spirits. Other than that, nothing really changes. But for the sake of the guide, it's going to be easier for me to explain things with regular Ascendants and Witch Doctor's Ancestry. And then for our Mythic Plus build, it's slightly different, where we're using Primordial Wave with Primordial Storm. So the reason being is Primordial Storm is just a big damage hit. And mixed with the fact that you're constantly getting nature feral spirits from your Tempest spawns, makes it hit even harder. And it kind of goes crazy because each one of these increases your physical damage by 10%. And then on top of that, it increases your nature damage as well. So you just get a big hit, and the button hits absolutely everything, triggering Wind Fury and stuff like that. So when you combo it with Doom Winds, it strikes very hard. And again, you can run Ascendants if you want, or you can run Deeply Rooted Elements. It's a personal choice. For me, I love to just run Deeply Rooted Elements. I hate deciding on when I want to Ascendants. I just like to let fate take the wheel and off we go. So, but again, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. They're going to come out to be somewhat similar. One's going to be more consistent, one's going to be more erratic, but your ceiling is going to be much higher and your floor is going to be much lower, type of thing. So just keep that in mind, and you don't take Elemental Blast in AoE just because you want to be spamming Chain Lightning, just getting those hits off as much as possible. So yeah, those are the two builds. I have heard some people take Feral Spirits with AoE. I do believe you just go with Flowing Spirits or you go Ancestry. It again, it's a personal choice. I haven't played it yet, but it does give you a bit more prio damage, and it will help you out on bosses as well. But I haven't really found much of an issue with Primordial Wave, Primordial Storm combos. So again, personal choice. Play what you like or what you feel. The easiest build, in my opinion, is going to be Deeply Rooted Elements with Tempest Strikes. And then for single target, you take Feral Spirits with Flowing Spirits. So that'll be the easiest combination for new players to get an understanding of Enhance. And if you are worried about it being very intimidating, you're not wrong. It is. I am crossing my fingers that with the addition to Midnight, they said they are looking into the approachability of specs, and I am hoping Enhancement Shaman makes that list. So we'll look forward to that. But anyways, enough about the talents. Let's get into the rotation and burst situation for rating and Mythic Plus. Okay, so to start off with, we'll be doing the single target build. We'll be using regular Ascendant since the opener is different to the way you would do Deeply Rooted Elements. And just to start off with, Maelstrom Spenders has a priority list. I'm going to give it to you now so that way the priority list that I'm going to put up in the top left can just say Maelstrom Spender rather than putting in 3 different versions. And it's really confusing. So Tempest is your biggest priority for spending Maelstrom. If this is active, you want to spend as much Maelstrom as you can on it, and that'll be your first spender. And then, if you don't have Tempest, you're going to look at your Elemental Blast. basically you want to keep at least one charge on cooldown. So if you spend it on Elemental Blast and then you accidentally Lightning Bolt, let's say, but you're still generating one charge, that's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But if you have two charges of Elemental Blast and you Lightning Bolt, it's a little bit of a big deal, but not like the worst thing ever. So don't feel too bad. But priority is Elemental Blast over Lightning Bolt. So Tempest, if Tempest isn't active, Elemental Blast. If you're out of charges, you send a Lightning Bolt. Simple as that. Those are your three spenders, and that's your priority. In AoE, you just swap Lightning Bolt for Chain Lightning, and that's the only difference. So to start off with, make sure your imbuements are active. So you want to use your Flame Tongue and Wind Fury. You want to get your Lightning Shield, Earth Shield, and your Sky Fury. Obviously, all your buffs. But so to start off with, we are going to Elemental Blast. Okay. I know it sounds weird, but we're going to precast Elemental Blast on the pull. And then we're going to Flame Shock. And then as we're running up, we're going to Feral Spirits into a Lavalash Ice Strike. Okay. And then we're going to Doomwind's Ascendance. The reason why you do Lavalash Ice Strike is one, you get the Lashing Flames active, which is pretty okay. You do want to try and keep that active as much as possible, so you want to use it last second. But the big reason is to generate as much Maelstrom before you pop Ascendance, because thanks to your tier set, every time you enter Ascendance, you gain a Tempest. So you want to smash that as much as possible. So we'll start off slow here, and then we'll kind of do it full speed. So we want to precast Elemental Blast, and then into a Flame Shock, Feral Spirits, Lavalash, Ice Strike, Doomwind's Ascendance, and then we just blast. And then we just smash the Wind Strike. Wind Strike takes priority in your Ascendance. That's the only thing you want to hit other than Feral Spirits or Doomwinds. So that's it. So outside of this, we have Tempest, boom. So we're going to go ahead. We got another one. So we're going to go ahead and Voltic Blaze, Lavalash to get our stuff back, Ice Strike, and then we Tempest again. And then you can see I've kind of fallen off, so I want to generate. And I'm at 10, so I'm going to go ahead and LE Blast. I can get another one, so Elemental Blast again. Now we got another Tempest, so we go ahead and generate Feral Spirits, Tempest. And then we get our Lavalash reset. Go ahead and Elemental Blast, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt. Oh, we procced an Ascendance. So we just go ahead and spam Wind Strike out of that. Not sure why it was the PvP version, but I don't know. Things have been weird. So, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. It's very intimidating at the start because you have so many buttons lighting up. But yeah, so for that, it's basically just the opener is a bit confusing. Once the flow starts going, you're going to be just fine and you'll start to get the feel for it. It's it's much easier than it was last season with Totemic, and Totemic is definitely something else this season. So if you're interested in that, feel free to watch that guide, but it's a nightmare. But anyways, yeah, so precast, Elemental Blast, into a Flame Shock, into a Feral Spirits, Lavalash, Ice Strike, and then you Doomwind's Ascendant, so that way you just get that big Tempest right off the start. If you're in Ascendance, all you want to do is spam Wind Strike, and there is a great little thing called, so you press and hold casting, so you probably noticed me not smashing my key. You can just hold down and it'll just spam cast Storm Strike. But if I go ahead and press Spirit Walk, it will actually prevent me from Storm Striking again. So the only thing that doesn't stop it is actually interrupts. So if I wanted to interrupt, I go ahead and interrupt and it'll keep going. But yeah, it definitely helps for Stormbringer because you want to hit it as much as possible. So feel free to incorporate that into. Just type hold into the options and enable press and hold casting. It just removes your spamming your keys. Very helpful. But as for your deeply rooted elements and flowing spirits, so just so we can get a hold of this, I keep Elemental Blast. If you want to switch to Tempest Strikes, do it. It just makes the whole thing easier. But Basically, it's very similar. You just don't precast Elemental Blast. You go ahead, you run up Flame Shock, Lava Lash, Ice Strike, Doom Winds, Storm Strike until you get 10. Go ahead and Ellie Blast, and then we're just going to continue. We got a Tempest, great, so we're going to go ahead and Tempest, and then we're going to continue generating. We're going to keep an eye on our Flame Shock and Lashing Flames, but thanks to bad procs, we go ahead and use it anyways. So we don't have anything. I'm going to go ahead and Sunder. We don't get anything, so I'm just going to send a Lightning Bolt, hope for a reset. Don't get anything. Okay, that's fine. And we're just going to continue on. I got an unfortunate proc there. As I pressed Elemental Blast, it's going to happen. But is what it is. Is what it is. So we just want to hammer in as much as possible. Like, all you're doing is generating and spending. Generate, spend. Generate, spend. And that's all you want to do. So it's very, very simple once you get the feel for it. It is very intimidating at the start, I know. But once you get a feel for it, and you can see I procced an Ascendance here, so I'm just going to go ahead and hold down Wind Strike. Bam. Big damn. And then as soon as we get out, Ellie Blast. And then we Tempest. Oh, we got another proc. Okay, we're just going to sit here. We're going to Doom Winds because it's up. And then we're just going to sit here and spam Wind Strike. Bam. We lost our Flame Shock, but that's okay. We'll leave it down for now. We got a Voltic Blaze, so perfect. We trigger it. Boom. Massive hit. Go ahead and put our Lashing Flame back on because we need to generate a bit more. But yeah, it's a lot simpler than people make it out to be. But it's very intimidating because you got so many buttons. Your biggest benefit as a enhance is your utility and your erratic damage. But yeah, either one of those builds is perfect. So let's get into the AoE version. So this one is slightly different, but very similar to what you would do for single target. So for this one, we want to be very similar. So we're going to start with Flame Shock, right? We want to spread it with Molten Assault, Lava Lash, and then we want a Primordial Wave for that big Primordial Storm combo with Doom Winds. And then right after that, you pop Ascendance. Now, I personally like to run with Deeply Rooted Elements. That's my choice. Again, you can choose between whichever one, like I said earlier. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. So it's up to you. We have Sunder for Interrupt. It's not a cooldown. It's just an interrupt, just like Thunderstorm. So if you do run out of things and you got stuff to interrupt, you can use it. It does proc a bunch of Wind Furies to trigger a lot of Maelstrom. So feel free to use that however you will, but it is best used to interrupt things. So let's get started. So again, Flame Shock. Then you want to Flame Shock, Lava Lash, Primordial Wave, Doom Winds, Crash, Storm, Ascendance. Whew. Okay, so I'm probably going to mess this up because I really suck at talking, but we'll do it slow. So we're going to Flame Shock, and then we're going to Lava Lash. We're going to Primordial Wave, Doom Winds, Crash, Lightning, Spin, Ascendance, and then we're just going to, same thing as usual. We're going to hold down Wind Strike until it's done and over with. So once that's all done and over with, then we go into just spamming Tempest and Chain Lightnings. So again, we're over, so we get Flame Shock back up, we Chain Lightning again because we got a reset, we Crash, we spam Storm Strike, we Voltic Blaze, we Chain Lightning, we Primordial Wave, and then we Primordial Storm, Voltic Blaze because it's up, get our Flame Shocks active, Tempest, Storm Strike, Crash, Storm Strike. We want to build up, so we want to get close 10. We Chain Lightning, and then we just keep going with that. That's all you're doing. That's it. AoE is much easier than single target because you don't really have to worry about it. The only time you want Flame Shock really active is for Primordial Wave window. That's it. So you don't have to worry too much about its uptime, but Voltic Blaze does do some solid AoE damage, so go ahead and press that, and then we have our stuff back up, so we're going to go ahead, do our usual spin move, and then we hit them with more Chain Lightnings, Crash to keep our buff up, Tempest whenever it's up, and then we go back to Chain Lightning spam and Voltic Blaze, and it's just very, very simple. So I'd say AoE is much easier to do than single target, but to me they're both simple. It is what it is. It's much easier than the totemic version, that's for sure. So again, just keep your primordial wave or your flame shocks up as much as you can, but really the important part is to have it when primordial wave is ready to go, and then you primordial wave, you doom winds, you spin. It does a lot of damage. When you're in Ascendance though, it's always the same as single target. You just smash that wind strike button. That's it. That's going to cast all your chain lightnings and everything like that, so you don't have to worry about that thanks to Thorm's Invocation. But if you run deeply rooted elements, it is very, very similar. The only thing is you don't get to choose when you ascend. So the exact same thing is you're going to flame shock, you're going to lava lash, you're going to primordial wave, doom winds, crash to get your buffs, spin move, and then we storm strike, and then we spam chain lightnings and tempests whenever they're up, because chain lightning is prioritized in AoE over lightning bolt. So that's about it. That's all you really got to worry about. If you're running deeply rooted elements, or actually both of them, to be honest, do be careful about your Awakening Storm stacks. If you don't feel like thinking about it, don't worry about it. But if you're really looking to maximize it, just be careful. If you're about to have an Ascendance, because every 8 triggers of Awakening Storms, you get an Ascendance thanks to our tier set. You want to be careful that you don't proc it at the end. So if you're at, let's say you're about to hit 8 stacks and you're about to finish off a pack of mobs, just sit there and lava lash, crash, sunder, whatever. Just sit there, AFK a little bit if you really want to. If you don't really care, just go ahead and smash buttons. It's not the biggest deal, but you can save a little bit of extra damage for the next pack. But again, all you're doing, you're keeping your flame shocks active, so that way your primordial wave is ready to go anytime. You combo that with doom winds, crash lightning, storm, and then you just tempest whenever it's up, just like single target, and then you fill in with chain lightning if tempest isn't active. Very, very straightforward. Much easier than single target, in my opinion. So, but yeah. If you are wondering about Unyielding Nether Prism, I basically just use it whenever I trigger an Ascendance with my build, Deeply Rooted Elements. Whenever I trigger Ascendance, I go ahead and press the Unyielding Nether Prism. And if you're using regular Ascendance, just combo it with Ascendance. That's it. That's all you really got to worry about. So, anyways, guys, that is it for my guide. I really hope this helps. I don't know. Let me know if there's anything I missed or anything like that. And yeah. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Hope this helps. Best of luck in Season 3 with your Mythic Plus or rating. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Laters!